All right, I'm jumping in the chat. Shout out to everybody. Recruiting Hour here. Sponsored by Lance Beal, Law Offices of Lance Beal. Stewie, how are you?
I'm good.
Happy signing day. Did you know it was signing day?
I did not, actually, because...
Stewie came to work and didn't know it was signing day.
Well, I'm not going to say I didn't know it was signing day. It's just like, it doesn't feel like signing day. Just like we talked about last week. Like, I told you I would be at school trying to find out who was signing LSU, who wasn't. And now it's like, okay, like LSU has their whole class in the boat, and you don't really have to worry about anything. So...
This is how wild the so in 2018 is when they started the early signing period. Mm-hmm. So that was the first time that kids could sign in December instead of waiting till February. And also in that time, obviously, they allowed kids to take official visits in the spring instead of waiting. Because remember when it used to be like one signing day, you can only start taking officials as a senior.
Yeah, you couldn't take
Well, then you're playing football already. So everyone just did them in like November, December, January, and then you signed in February. Well, now you can do them in the spring. Then we've got the portal. So like after December, LSU just went out and signed 11 portal dudes. And you're like, well, we don't really need much for February high school signing day. So I counted it for us yesterday. Guess how many of the on-3 top 300 players, recruits, came in today uncommitted?
Maybe 2 or 3.
6. You could name the 2 or 3. Harbor, Rashada,
the tight end from
Deuce
Georgia?
Robinson.
Yeah.
And then another one is another tight end who's looking at Georgia. So the Deuce Robinson kid, the word, at least I heard, or people, the train of thought was that Deuce Robinson is waiting to see if Todd Monken at Georgia was going to get like
NFL job.
Yeah, a different NFL job.
Didn't he get an NFL job?
Did he?
I think he is LA Rams now.
Let's see.
I want to say the Rams hired him. Or no, I might be wrong. The Rams.
Yeah, not yet. No.
The Rams were looking at him.
Yeah, he's interviewing with the Bucks and some other places.
I think the Rams hired Kellen Moore from Dallas.
Oh yeah, right. Rams or Chargers, one of them for sure. But Monken, I think these 2 tight ends who are both looking at Georgia are kind of waiting to see what happens with Monken. So 2 of the 6 kids in the top 300 who are not committed anywhere are just looking to see what a coach is doing right now. Then you got Rashada, who's trending to Arizona State.
I guess.
Then you have Harbor, who's trending to Oregon. And then there's just 2 other kids. So that's 2%. So basically, you can't go into February thinking you're going to nab kids. Yeah. Odds are you probably aren't even in the mix for anybody.
And if you are a recruit and you haven't committed by February or committed by
100%,
you're in a bad spot.
It's risky.
Because a lot of teams will just go fill that spot with a college kid, a transfer.
And I think we see that with, like right now, LSU is really only after one guy, Jamel Howard, the 3-star out of Chicago, and that was because it was like, look, we still got a need at nose tackle, D-line. He's one of the only guys out there, and he waited till after December, and he blew up. He got like Michigan and LSU and a bunch of offers. So he knew he could. I think he's going to go to Wisconsin. He knew he could wait until February and feel it out. But even then, that was just one kid. It wasn't like LSU was doing that with like 4 or 5 dudes because they went to the portal, filled it up.
Yep.
And think about last year. Who did they add late in the February? Like Jalen Davis Robinson, he's not even on the team anymore. Mm-hmm. Demarius McGee was a late guy, not even on the team anymore.
Pretty much everybody you added late, just like not on the team.
Right.
Anymore. Even like Jack Besh, he was a late ad, not on the team anymore.
And it's different than it used to be when it was like late. Like when they only had one signing day and you added guys late, and it was like Russell Gage and Foster Morrow and Lloyd Cushenberry.
Duke Riley.
Yeah, those were still real good players who had options. It was just you moved on them late in the game. Yeah. Now December is late in the game now. Yeah. February is...
You're like too late.
Might be a little too late.
Like you aren't even at the party.
So I was talking to some coaches last night, and all of them were like, this is the goal. Yeah. You want to be done by December with high school kids. By January, you've done all your portal stuff, and minus maybe going after a big kid in high school at February or going after some late portal guys. Like, they could still add some more portal guys.
I think that center is visiting this weekend, right?
Yeah, I saw. I think they're in a dead period right now. I think it was like a March visit because he's not leaving Miami till the summer. So I think he's kind of just like visiting everybody over the spring.
So does the dead period like end in like March?
I need to see how the dead period affects transfers because I think it's all the same. I would imagine it would fit into the same thing as just recruiting, which is how we view high school or JUCO. But yeah, the dead period ends like on the last day of February. So we're in the dead period right now. So the whole month of February will be dead, meaning you cannot have any in-person contact. So no visitors. You're not out on the road. You can call kids and all that, but
hit them in the DMs.
That's right. Send them some graphics or something, Coach. Let's see. People in the chat got any questions? Again, we're not expecting anybody to commit today. So if we want to have any discussion about the 25 guys who signed in December, or if people have any questions about the future, we can get into that. I did bring up, or I just posted onto the Bengal Tiger, my superlatives for the class. I gave out 25 superlatives. We'll go through that. Give you some of them, see what y'all think. Hunter Fournette, were you a Dapper Dan man? Am I giving a Dapper Dan look today? I guess I'm freshly showered, but no hair product.
Oh, I saw Deshaun Womack on campus the other day, and he is like...
Big kid, huh?
Big. Like, he looks like he's been in college for 2 years.
Was he in his sling?
No, he wasn't wearing a sling.
Already off the sling?
Probably getting in the rehab.
Yeah. A lot of kids got cleaned up after the season, both on the team and high school kids.
Yeah, and even transfer. One of the transfer guys had a knee brace.
Yeah,
on.
Jefferson out of West Virginia.
Is that like meniscus cleanup?
I don't know.
Like
I'm sure it's just cleaning something up. Like I saw Mason Taylor at the basketball game in a sling. It's been reported by multiple people that Makai Wingo had
shoulder surgery. Right?
I think you could tell like by late November the team was beat up.
Yeah, I mean, Mason Taylor was wearing a shoulder brace the whole season.
Yeah, pretty much the whole year.
So he might have just had something to clean up too.
And Wingo was probably just playing hurt, playing more snaps than anybody in the country.
Because he wore a shoulder brace too. So I guess it's just a little.
And boys are built different than us, Stu.
Yes,
they're out there, but we're just playing through it. But yeah, so spring though is fine because then you just get a feel for everybody else gets a little more reps. The guys that you know are players, you're not really worried about spring ball with and having to have them out there for every rep. John Bro asked, and we talked about this, Stewie, beforehand. What do you think Juwan Johnson does on Saturday? So Juwan Johnson is one of the state's best players for 2024. He's a junior. You know he had 9 touchdowns in that Turlings Catholic game in the state semis.
Yes.
Oh,
he is.
Then they went to the state finals. They lost, but I think he set the record, or I know he set the record with like 500 and something all-purpose yards. So he plays quarterback, but when I was talking to him this week, he said everybody is recruiting him at corner, and he's down. He's going to announce between LSU, Florida, and Colorado. I think it's LSU or Colorado. Mm-hmm. Now, I preface this by saying there's 10 months until he actually signs. So I know LSU's working this one hard all week. The timing of it, him coming off a Colorado visit and then being like, I'm ready to announce. And Colorado just offered him a month ago. So and so did Florida. LSU offered in the summer when he came to camp. I think it's almost like we're seeing the prime effect kind of touch Louisiana real quick.
And he hasn't been to LSU.
We've been watching from afar the prime stuff.
Now he's in our backyard.
And he hired a couple guys off the staff. So obviously those guys know like, hey, look, we should get on these kids in 24. So I won't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if it's LSU Saturday, obviously, but I won't be surprised if it's Colorado. I will be surprised if he actually then signed with Colorado, like next December.
Kind of like a Ricky Collins situation.
But I've seen it happen with a lot of guys. Even like Jamar Chase was.
Oh yeah, when he committed to like
Kansas for a week.
Then he
was silently committed to TCU. He was going to go public with it, and then didn't at the opening. Then he committed to Florida on Friday Night Lights.
Yep.
Then in November he decommitted, took all his visits, and then went to LSU.
So I mean, I really don't stress about a kid committing this early.
No, not anymore. But let me ask you this too: do you think these kids will start to think a little differently about Colorado when they're playing games? Like, what if they're not good at all? Like, and they win like 3 games or whatever.
I mean, then you'll just see transfer after like it might turn into the A&M thing. Like, okay, I'm coming here for $200K, but then we're not good on the field. Won 4 games this year. I'm going back to where I came from. Like, if it's a kid from Texas that signed with Colorado, he might be like, I don't want to be here. It's cold. We aren't good. So I could just go back to Texas if they want me.
Ready to go back close to home or wherever.
So
I don't know. The people that I've talked with are saying, hey, look, this could be Colorado this weekend, but you're 10 months away from signing day, so is that really a thing? And LSU could get this done this week, and it's not, and he stays home. I remember, hey, look, same high school, too. They have, 3 LCA kids on roster right now? Yeah. Sage, Fitzgerald West, and Jordan Allen.
And, I'm sure he knows Malik Neighbors. I'm sure he's close to him.
And remember,
Terrence Welch.
Yeah.
Another Lafayette kid.
Gosh, that's 5 Lafayette kids, even without Walker and Jack on the roster. That's a good number of Lafayette kids, but 3 from his school. Remember, Sage announced, hey, in a week I'm announcing, and it was Bama, and then it became a wild week of LSU doing. But that was closer to signing day too.
Yeah, it was
November, and he could sign in December.
Was Halloween. Okay, because LSU had just lost to Auburn right before that.
Yeah.
And then it was okay, if Sage Ryan goes to Bama, then this week is just horrible. Because you just lost to Auburn, and that was the Bo Nix game where Bo Nix was just running around like a crazy person. And then it's all right.
That's right.
Or was it that game, or was this 2020? It was Sage class of 2020?
He's a sophomore this year, so yeah, 2020.
Yeah.
2021.
So, all right, so yeah, that was...
Because he's played 2 years.
So that was the 2020 season, so they lost to Auburn in 2020, right?
That was the COVID year.
Yeah. The COVID year. They lost to Auburn at Auburn. Auburn beat the hell out of them.
Oh, yeah.
Because that was the first time.
It was 60-0 or whatever.
It was Kayshawn's first touchdown.
Yeah. I remember that. But point being, kids change their mind even in a week. Yeah. So, I don't know. We'll see what happens Saturday, but I wouldn't. If I'm an LSU fan, I'm not really sweating. He's a phenomenal player, but I know that I got a staff that can recruit the state. And if you're in Lafayette trying to be committed to Colorado for 10 months without LSU pushing, I don't know what your shot is.
And this DB class is deep enough to miss out on one, right?
Yeah, and he's a real good player, though. I like him. I think they'll get him eventually.
Yeah, so, at some point he's going to realize.
If we're still having this conversation, if he commits to Colorado and he's still committed there next December, then we're talking about, can they flip him? But
at this point,
right now, not worried about it. Hunter Fournette said Rashada committed to Arizona State, so.
And I'm sure he'll take a couple spring visits to LSU. I'm sure they'll try to, even if he does commit.
Talking about Juwan?
Yeah.
Oh,
even if he does commit to Colorado.
He'll be around all the time. And you can't just drop in at Colorado.
Yeah, and he was, early in the season, he went to the Florida State game.
Yeah, he was at the opener in New Orleans. Then he was at a couple games.
Yeah, he was at a lot of games during the season, and then at some point it was I guess I don't want to say communication broke, because I'm sure LSU's gonna keep recruiting him as hard as they can, but it was almost he stopped communicating with them and started
and he
opening up to others.
He told me he just wanted to during the season it was easy to just go to LSU.
Yeah.
After a season, once state championship ended, that he was now I want to go see everybody else. And he did that, and now we'll see ultimately what he's up to this weekend. We'll have more coverage on the Bengal Tiger about that as Saturday gets closer. Chance Babin asked about a JUCO linebacker, Johnny Davis. I know the kid had tweeted that he was going to visit, but I talked to some people who said that at the time they didn't know anything about that. So I'd be a little surprised if, and we're in a dead period now, so be a little surprised if that was someone that, at least currently, they don't seem to be recruiting that heavily. Let's see. Hunter Fournette asked Shea, what's your opinion of the Zachary offensive tackle LSU's looking at? We've got an update on the site with him today on On3. His name's Kavion Broussard. He was on campus this past weekend. This was the kid that Mario Cristobal dropped the chopper in on to go see him at Zachary. But he said that, I know he's listed at 230 something. Broussard, so we updated it. Broussard told us he's pushing 6'6", 253. That's what I love, and I think that's what Brian Kelly wants in offensive tackles.
Yeah.
Lighter guys who are athletic that you can just put on muscle or weight.
And move them around. They could move.
No
cool.
doubt. They're versatile, as opposed to just recruiting a bunch of 300 and something pounders that, hey, we might need you to lose some weight, and it turns out you're actually not that great of an athlete. Yeah. And this is the way to recruit. So I like him. And
do you think that was like the Orgeron way to recruit offensive linemen?
I think that was just the way that everybody recruited offensive linemen. But the teams that were doing it right were teams in the Midwest that had access to a lot of kids that were
like the Wisconsin,
well-fed, 280, 70-pound kids who were huge.
Strong as an ox.
Yeah, 100%. So like Wisconsin, Iowa, Notre Dame, these were schools that turn out. But they were also doing it the right way. Like they were going after tight ends and bulking them up. They were going after defensive linemen and bulking them up. Hey, that's what LSU did do with Charles Turner. I mean, he was like 220 coming out
he
or
was
something.
Small. I mean, Brian Kelly did it to Jason Kelsey.
Yeah, moved him from linebacker to center. So, I think that's the way to go. I like Kavion Broussard. I think he's a good player. I won't be surprised at all if they offered him at one point.
Why didn't Brian Kelly get enough credit? Why didn't Brian Kelly get credit from that? Like the Kelsey brothers.
I think people just don't realize he was the head coach at Cincinnati at that time.
That was his moves being made.
Right.
So he's responsible for the best tight end in the game.
And the number of tight ends at Notre Dame are real solid.
Yeah.
So.
The Michael Meyer kid is projected like the number 15 pick.
Yeah.
So Brian Kelly's a tight end guru at this point.
Well, he blessed Mason Smith with some praise. So.
Oh, God. He blessed him.
And now you got Pimpton coming in. And Markway and McGohan.
Yeah.
Tight end will be better.
Yeah, I think Markway is more of an inline blocker.
No doubt. Big kid.
Like goal line, put it in. He'll maul somebody. That's fine.
That way you need him, especially if they're going to try to run more 12 personnel.
Goodness. Not ready for that.
Chance Babin said NSD is now in December. Today's just last call. That's a good way to put it. We're shutting down.
Yeah, his last
trying
call
to
for
get
alcohol.
in. Let me know. Call me.
How many did Dion sign in the early signing period? Because
I don't know, because they were handing out a lot of offers.
They've handed out like over 1,000 offers. I mean, you can only sign
the old rapid fire approach.
Yeah, you can only sign 30 of them.
Well, and they signed a bunch of portal kids. Obviously, brought a bunch of kids with them. That Louis.
Yeah, Louis bag is nice.
This is what they were talking about. That Louis, Cormani, Travis.
Yeah, if you could pull off Jawan Johnson with that, like with Cormani and Travis Hunter, he's been doing it at DB. Like, can't deny that Deion knows how to recruit a DB.
What is Deion Sanders' last year in the NFL? Let's look this up. 2005 with the Ravens. I forgot he was with the Ravens. So 2005 would be 15, 25, 3, about 18 years ago. There's a chance right on the money that Juwan Johnson and them were not even alive when Deion played his last game.
No, they weren't. A bunch of them probably weren't.
So I just see a lot of people being like, oh, these kids are going to fall in love with, like,
Deion
the cornerback. Like, it's the corner. And
they don't even know Deion the corner.
They had to watch highlights of that.
Like,
you got to get on YouTube. We're getting older, Stu.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm scrolling through the chat, and then we'll jump on some of these superlatives. Lloyd is not undercover. He's around. Which LSU recruiters get credit for most of the recruits this cycle? Chance Babin. I don't know if I'd just say anyone had like some wildly bigger pull than everyone else. Like Hankton signed 4 receivers, but then again, like Shelton's a Baton Rouge kid.
Yeah.
He's being recruited by other members of staff like Joe Sloan and them.
Yeah, I guess you could say Jamar Cain.
I mean,
the D-line crew.
I'll go Cain, but then people are like, well, he didn't get a D tackle. Well, look, he went out and got Womack. That's good enough. Yeah. And I think there's some other D linemen in this class that can be real good.
Oh, you could kind of even go Matt House because he did a good job evaluating like Whit Weeks. And Breathway. So I mean, like even though it's 2 linebackers, you still
Omar you know States. What? I'll go Brad Davis. Yeah. I like the 4 man in the line haul. I think they're all good players. I don't see any scrubs in that group.
No. Like,
And DJ Chester is a steal out of Georgia.
You think so?
Oh, yeah.
Where does he project? Center, guard?
Center guard. But he plays everything right now, obviously, in high school. But even at All-American Bowl, he was doing some center, and I think LSU fans were like, all right, we'll take a center if you can get developed, take a year or so to get ready, and boom. No hope on Nicholas Harbor, no. I think he's going to Oregon is what everybody's saying now, but Tiger asked about that, and that was Chance Babin asking before. Let's see. Hunter said, Primes recruit these super skinny corners.
I mean,
you can play in the SWAC, but can you play out there?
Have you looked at like most cornerbacks anyway? Like
That's
most
skinny.
cornerbacks are slim, just twitchy athletes.
Right. Okay.
Travis Hunter could tackle, coach. I'll tell you that.
Travis Hunter can play. I'm not sure Cormani is this lock,
No, I don't.
Stingley type player that anybody. He's not, in fact.
Because I saw some video from the All-American Bowl, and he was getting
Get worked up a little bit?
yeah.
All right, so I did superlatives, Stu. Adjectives basically given out here and there. Some of these are made up kind of things, but one to each kid in the class. We'll roll through some of these. My early impact, instant impact offense defense. I cheated here.
I mean, this is
I chose the 2 5-stars. Hurd on offense, Womack on defense. Womack's going to play that edge role. We'll see how much Ovia Gofu from Texas, and Braden Swinson from Oregon play. But really, you want them to bring along or bide time for Womack to both be healthy and then be ready to play as a freshman. But Womack is absolutely the real deal. Then with Hurd, I think it's almost a given. Like, people keep saying, like, is there a chance Hurd starts as a freshman? And he doesn't get here till the summer, so it's not like he's got that 6-month head start. But, I mean, it seems to me, even in 2019, Stu, they would be shuffling up the O-line in the first month of the season every week.
every week they had a new offensive line combination.
And that's been the case with Brad Davis. We've seen him not scared at all to be, even during games, he was like Dellinger, you get some time. Frazier, you get some time. Marlon Martinez gets in.
Charles Turner, they're switching.
And look, Cam Wire started, and then he moves out Will Campbell and puts Emory Jones at tackle. So I absolutely think Hurd can be instant impact. He's really good. So I'll choose my 2 5-stars. The fastest. Check out these numbers here, Stu.
Wow. Wait.
I'm going to give you Jaylen Brown, who signed with him out of Miami. Stuck with him. Miami others were trying to flip him hard. I will give you Jaylen Brown's high school track stuff as a junior, because he's not even in track season yet, and he's already enrolled. So that was it. So what he ran as a junior versus what Kayshawn was running as a senior. Kayshawn Butte. Jaylen Brown has a 10.6 500-meter dash. The fastest Kayshawn had was a 10.97. Jaylen Brown has a 20.98 200-meter dash. The fastest Kayshawn had was 21.25. So Jaylen Brown's already out here breaking 21, which is wild.
No, that's insane.
And he's got a 49.17 400-meter dash, which is grown man's race.
That's like, yeah.
And Kayshawn broke he actually had a 48.27 was a record. But he did that in indoor, I believe.
Yeah.
And 49.17. Let's see what he did in outdoor. Kayshawn's fastest outdoor was 48.27. And then fastest indoor is 49.04.
I mean, 400 is
that's grown man stuff.
That is grown man running.
So they're basically about right at the same speed across the board. 100, 200. In fact, Jaylen Brown's 100 and 200 a little bit quicker than where Kayshawn was.
Yeah, as a junior.
And
he looked good in the All-American.
He
game.
did.
Like, he looked like he runs good routes. He looks like he catches the ball with his hands. Like, the little things that people don't see from, like, high school receivers, because it's not – like, in high school, you don't really have to be a refined route runner if you're fast or if you have size.
Right.
So it's like when you see a high school kid that's refined and runs good routes and has, like, the little technique things, like you get excited. That's something to get excited about.
The on-3 comp for Jaylen Brown is Will Fuller, who played for Brian Kelly at Notre Dame. And I actually asked Brian Kelly about that in December, and he said that's the perfect comp.
Speed guy.
He said the guy can just take top right off the defense. And beyond Chris Hilton, I'm not sure they have that right now.
I mean, maybe Sheldon could do it. Just because of like his size and his speed combination.
But he doesn't have that kind of verified track stuff. So I'm excited about Jaylen Brown. The more I look at it and think about it, the more I really like that ad. I did the strongest, and I gave it to Caleb Jackson. Now, Caleb Jackson, running back out of Baton Rouge, just this past spring, had 6 sub-11 second 100 meters, including a 10.86. So Jaylen Brown is out here running a 10.65. Kayshawn was running a 10.97, and your boy Caleb Jackson's putting down multiple. 10.86 is a PR for him right now as a junior. So he can fly. So I could have put him in the fastest, but I gave him strongest because I remember, and I went back and looked. So he got hurt as a senior. Even when he was a sophomore, he was benching over 525, or excuse me, squatting over 525, benching over 335. So this is a well-built running back with speed.
He's thick.
He was just injured all year, so we kind of forget about him in a way.
He hurt his ankle, right?
He did hurt his ankle, yes, or foot. It was one of those, but he'll be fine. He'll be getting here and good to go. Curious if he gets healthy enough to run into track this spring. We'll see. And the other running back I gave the title of what he earned, record holder, Trey Holly.
It's the guy.
Tops out Nick Brissett and Kenny Hilliard and finishes as the most yards as a running back from scrimmage in Louisiana high school football history. So that's a big deal. I gave the sleeper. I always think you can pick a bunch of people. My sleeper's Ricky Collins.
Yeah.
I just think everyone forgot. Like, it was like Arch, is one of the best quarterbacks in the country. LSU was out recruiting some national quarterbacks, so people were paying attention to like Rashada and Dante Moore and guys like that. But you kind of forget. And Eli Holstein also. You had 3 big-time quarterback recruits. Holstein goes to Bama, Manning goes to Texas, and then LSU gets Ricky Collins. Collins finished as a top 20 quarterback.
I think
Elite 11 finalist.
Yeah,
played well at Elite 11. Well over 6'2", dual threat, can run. He just wasn't on a team this year where he was putting up gaudy stats.
I don't think people understand the Ricky Collins situation. That's why
educate us.
Yeah, it might look like he took a step back this season, but that's because Woodlawn lost their top 2 receivers and their best running back and some of their best offensive linemen.
The offensive line didn't.
They had freshmen playing the offensive line this year.
That's tough. Then
they were shuffling every week to find a makeshift offensive line just to keep him upright. But I know his junior season they had 2 top receivers. One of them's at McNeese right now. One of them's at Grambling State.
Okay, so you lose 2 college football players.
2 college football players that were take the top off the defense.
Right.
They could get it over the middle, like the little things that Ricky had to do himself this season almost. And then the run game they had this year, their running back was committed to UL, the one that they had this season. But I think last season they had a little more like balance between the running backs because they had like a bruiser guy, and then this kid was like the speed guy. But he didn't have that this season. He just had that one running back. So it was a lot that went into him kind of taking a step back and looking a little bit worse, I guess you could say.
Right.
Because of like the things that were around him. Because if you watch the games that he played in, he was willing them to win.
Yeah.
Like, if they were winning, it was because
I know I talked to a bunch of people, too, who watched him, college coaches at different schools, who said, he got a lot better as a senior. Like, keeping his eyes downfield, moving his feet, just general things that come with development as a quarterback, mechanics. They're like, don't look at the stats or what happened. He played better. So, and now look, he's on campus already. Walker's gone, so he's getting reps now that he would not have been getting had they had 4 quarterbacks. So, I like old Ricky. We'll toss one more, then I'll get back in the chat, then we'll wrap up with some more of these, or at least go on some more of these. I gave the total package to Whit Weeks.
I saw that.
I mean, insane senior stats, playing at a high level in Georgia at Coney County, played offense, played defense, played special teams. Then he went over to the All-American Bowl in San Antonio, and everyone just said he was by far the best linebacker. And they're like, he's easily the best in coverage. So Charles Power, our national rankings guy, they ultimately moved him right up onto the top 100, and I think he's easily a top 5 or 6 linebacker in the country. But he made a good point. He was like, what was y'all's reaction when Whit Weeks committed? I was like, I couldn't even tell you when it was. Might have been the summer, I guess.
Yeah, I think it was the summer.
Nobody.
But it was like...
Nobody celebrated like, yo, we just got a top 100 player and
like,
big-time linebacker.
I was like, all right, we have his brother. I don't know how good his
brother
brother
is.
is.
Yeah, we got his brother. And you hadn't seen his brother play yet at that time.
I don't even think we were through spring yet when he committed.
Yeah, he would have been June or July for sure.
Yeah.
One of the earlier ones, but I love him, and he's already on campus, so we'll see what all he's got rolling this year in terms of where he could play. I know that Drew Nicholas asked this. This sounds like a tough question, but I think I can do it kind of quickly, and it doesn't matter if I'm close to right because the season's a long time away. He said, list your potential starters by position. Just curious with all the transfers. All right. I can go down this. Jaden at quarterback. Josh Williams or Emory at running back. I'll go Neighbors, Brian Thomas, and Aaron Anderson at receiver.
Yes.
Though I think Kyron Lacey has played a bunch, so he'll be in that mix. Mason Taylor at tight end. Will Campbell at left tackle. I'll go Garrett Dellinger and Miles Frazier as the 2 guards and keep Emory Jones at right tackle and Charles Turner at center until I see, like, Hurd's going to play. I just don't know if it's going to be game 1.
I kind of like Marlon Martinez at center, too.
And then there's Marlon Martinez at center. So the O-line has a chance just because you've got some depth there to shake up. But a lot of those are familiar names. All those guys minus... Anderson. Every single one of those 5 guys on the O-line started this year, so... that would not be a surprise to see those 5 back in it. But that's what I would do on offense. On defense, I'll go D-end. I'll go Savion Jones. Though Paris Shand as a transfer will play there. Quincy Wiggins can play that spot, but I'll go Savion. I'll go Mackay, Wingo, and Mason as your 2 other D linemen. At the jack, I don't know if Deshaun Womack starts game 1, so it could be a Gofu. He's your oldest guy out of that group, and he played a lot at Texas last year, started every game pretty much. But Agofu, Swinson, Womack. At your 2 linebacker spots, this is tricky. This just depends on how they want to use Harold Perkins.
Yeah, because Harold Perkins
like, are you putting Womack on one side and Perkins on another and letting them both get after it like Bama kind of does? Or are you letting Perkins kind of play some jack-type position?
Yeah.
You can be multiple there, but Greg Penn...
yeah, for sure.
and Spates from Oregon State,
yeah,
I think are 2 guys you feel very good about. Then you've got the 2 Weeks brothers, and then you've got Perkins. And then Braithwaite will be here this summer. So you don't have a lot of linebackers. In fact, I think they'll take another out of the portal at some point. But I'll go Penn and Perkins, or Perkins and Spates, or Penn and Spates, and then Perkins kind of roams around. But those would be my top guys. And then I think both Weeks brothers are going to be solid second-team options for him. Corner, this could be tricky, but I feel good about my answer. I'll go Denver Harris.
Mm-hmm.
Zy Alexander, and then Deuce Chestnut at nickel.
Yeah,
but then J.K. Johnson.
Yeah, J.K. Johnson and Deuce Chestnut would probably battle for that nickel spot. But then you also have Sage Ryan, who played nickel last year.
Right.
And Greg Brooks.
And Greg Brooks. I guess I like the idea of putting Deuce Chestnut, who's coming from Syracuse, at nickel. Have Denver, Zy, J.K. Johnson as corners. LaTerrence as a corner. Welsh.
7 Banks.
7 as a corner. And then, but if you have Deuce Chestnut at nickel, maybe you could then move Sage Ryan back to safety.
Yep.
Move Greg Brooks back to safety.
Yeah.
And then you'd have Greg Brooks and Major Burns. Then you'd have Sage.
They played a lot of 3 safety looks last year, too. So.
And after that, like, Langlois was hurt all year. Jordan Allen just got done with his first year. And then you've got Kylan Jackson and Ryan Yates and Doherty, who you just signed, are a bunch of high school kids. So I would want one more. I'd feel better about safety if Major Burns and Greg Brooks and Sage were back there.
Yeah, for sure.
So maybe one of these new transfers can play some nickel, hopefully. Kicker, I'll go Ramos, I guess, unless Dybert wins the job. Punter is clearly Bramplett, and long snapper is Slade Roy. That would be my guess for week 1.
Yeah.
Solid team.
Solid team.
LSU FSU is going to be a great game.
Oh, my goodness.
And Florida State is figuring out who they're starting at all these positions. They portaled up.
Yeah. They went straight to the portal after the season. Because they had a lot of guys departed from Florida State.
Right.
So.
Drew Nicholas is Noah Kane still on the team? Yes. And I think he's great red zone type back for him. Look, they've got a lot of running backs, especially when Armani Goodwin's healthy. You've got your 2 guys you just signed plus Emery, plus 60 plus Emery, Josh Williams, Armani Goodwin, and Kane. So Frank Wilson's got options. Let's see. People are asking a little bit about Nicholas Harbor and why didn't they recruit him more for track. They did, but ultimately he's going to be on a football scholarship, so it falls on the football team, and they recruited him as a D lineman, and he ultimately kind of moves on to tight end.
Kid's from D.C.
Right.
It was going to be hard to get him down here, for sure.
And if he goes to Oregon, we'll see.
Yeah, that's another thing.
South Carolina's trying hard to keep him home. So
Spencer Rattler's tweeting at him. Let's be great. I just don't.
Let's be great, cuz.
It's just weird that he would go from his top schools being schools that are in the near vicinity to him to Oregon. Oregon doesn't use their tight end like that. I've watched Oregon a good amount of times.
I just don't think he's that good of a tight end. Not yet, he's not. He's just a raw player. So if you can develop him, he's a beast.
Yeah, just split him out.
He's a mismatch, but his hands are not there yet. Not for a 5-star tight end.
Well, that's not good. Get him on the jugs machine.
He'll just have to be on the jugs. See how it goes. He's a freak, though. I'll give him that. Justin McVicker, late to the show. What's the word on the D lineman from Chicago? So Jamel, what is that? Is it Jamel Howard? Yeah, Jamel Howard out of Chicago. It's been a long cycle. Is announcing today a 3-star. He's expected to go to Wisconsin. And LSU, look, they offered him in December. You take a swing at him, and you don't get him. It's not that big of a deal. They addressed a lot of the D-line stuff through the portal anyhow, so I think they are fine there. I'm not too worried about that one. Landon Finkelberg, would you say a playoff run is realistic? For sure. Right? I mean, they've got one of their quarterback is a top 8 Heisman odds.
Yeah, and
right now. They've got a lot of guys back. Your O-line's back.
That first game is going to be
great.
Top 10 matchup.
Oh, for sure.
And you get that win, that puts you in the driver's seat almost.
Right.
And
I absolutely think a playoff run. I mean, they won the West with a makeshift roster. They've got a better roster this year than they did in 2022. So
didn't they have only 60 scholarship players, something like that?
They had to start up from 39 or whatever it was.
Now they're at what, 75?
They're at 77, but that does not include walk-ons. Like Josh Williams got a scholarship. Damian Ramos, the kicker, was on scholarship. So let's say they're around 80. You still have 5 open spots. And I do think JD5 will take another step. I'm also in the boat that thought he played well enough this year, so what do I know?
Yeah.
And then you got the Nuss Bus, too.
Yeah, the Nuss Bus is still here. Sparked up,
Oh, yeah. Landon says his friends, he lives in Mississippi, says all his Ole Miss friends think he's crazy for thinking LSU can make a playoff run. No, they'll make a playoff. They'll be in the mix.
Ole Miss won't be in the mix.
We saw it this year, too. Brian Kelly's whole thing. Everything is November's for contenders.
Yeah.
Got to get to November.
You
got to close.
I mean, this schedule is kind of it's. I'm not gonna say it's favorable, but you get Florida State in Orlando.
Top 10 game. That's a tough matchup.
Then you got Grambling at home the next week. You go to Mississippi State.
It's always a tough game, but you should win it.
Arkansas comes into town.
I like playing Arkansas earlier in the year than later.
Yes. At Ole Miss.
That'll be a great game. Tough place.
At Missouri. You lost the last time you went to Missouri. First time ever.
You got to go back up there in COVID year. But
yep.
but you should be beating Missouri.
Auburn at home.
You got to beat Auburn.
Then you got Army at home.
Win.
And then you get the bye week at Alabama.
Right. TBD.
Florida at home.
That's good to have that one at home.
You close out the season with 3 straight home games.
I don't even know what Florida's quarterback situation is going to be either.
I don't know what any of their situation is.
And then,
do they have a defensive coordinator yet?
Ooh, did they not hire one yet?
I don't know. Oh no, I think they do. I'm blanking. I'm tripping out.
Do they have a quarterback?
I forgot that he brought his defensive coordinator from
UL.
Yeah, I think it's like the safeties coach, Patrick Toney.
Oh, okay.
Georgia State
Dub.
and then A&M.
Yeah, got to get a vengeance on that game.
Yeah, where does A&M stand? Like, where are they at? Because Max Johnson was their guy last year.
Connor Wegman has to be the guy now.
I was
right?
going to say he
they've
like
got players. Obviously, we saw it in the LSU game. It's just about
putting it together.
Mm. Bobby Petrino's coming to save the offense.
Oh God, I hope he wears the neck brace.
Let's see. Chance Babin, how many in-state D linemen will LSU target in 2024? I think a few. Right now, 3 guys have offers. You mentioned who Dominic McKinley at Acadiana just got offered last week. Melvin Hills, another LCA kid, has been offered. And then Demarion Johnson, who plays at Westgate, has been offered. So targeting at least 3, so there might be more. So more than what the state gave you this year, which is nice. You always like to have a little foundation in Louisiana.
Yeah. You'll get 3.
Give us a few guys. So a few, at least. I think that number will get up to 4 or 5 range. Drew Nicholas, do you feel like I do, and it's getting Mason Smith back doesn't get talked about enough? Absolutely.
I mean, he was coming back regardless.
But yeah, right, back from injury though.
Yeah,
I don't think people are even talking about that. Like, LSU's D line's adding back one of the best players in the country.
I think it kind of got lost in the wash because Mekhi Wingo was playing so good,
and Roy played and never got hurt, and it became like, all right, they made it through it.
But if it would have turned ugly and we would have had no defensive lineman or Wingo or Roy goes down, it's like, oh shit.
Think about, you got Mason down on the line, you got Wingo down on the line, you got a guy like Savion Jones who's going to take that next step. Then you got Perkins coming off the edge or Womack coming off the edge.
You got options.
And that front, the trenches are looking nice, which is where you win.
And Speeds can he can rush too. He's played some outside, he's played some inside. Right. So
before we wrap up, a couple more superlatives if you want. I think I gave Kyle Parker the nod as maybe the most college ready. I just think for a receiver, he's the most physically ready among the 4 they signed. The it factor I gave to Toviano. I just think he's got it. Yeah, that's a future number 18.
He seems like he's got that like Trey White kind of like just a leader, do everything right, don't miss a workout, like just the little things that people don't see or do sometimes.
Right.
Especially those top players.
I always loved the late Louisiana edition, and as we mentioned, now that's happening in December, was Dylan Carpenter this year, and I think he'll be a player. He ended up a 4-star in the On3 Top 300, so he's not a sleeper really.
He kind of reminds me of like Aiden Hutchinson, like that. Just like he just doesn't give up on the play. Like it's just balls to the wall every play. He's gonna run you down from the opposite DN spot, like outside zones. He's running that down. Like he just doesn't give up.
Yeah, he's got real good change of direction too. Really, really good basketball player.
Carpenter?
Yeah, explosive. Wow. Google his Hubble.
Hey, look. You can always tell how good of an athlete a kid is by if they play basketball.
100%. Emory Jones is a good basketball player at Catholic.
He was super good.
His stuff was fun because he would be like crossing people.
Yeah,
and you'd see his feet and you're like, oh, this kid could play O-line.
300 pounds.
Chris Hilton and Brian Thomas were great basketball. Brian Thomas was a great basketball player. Chris Hilton could just dunk out the gym.
Yeah, Brian Thomas could probably be on LSU's basketball team.
100%.
Right, like, for sure.
100%. I always am a big fan of this, bloodlines, because I think there can be an indicator of success for football players. Yeah. And Jackson Howard, who's already 6'4", 250, he can play really multiple spots on the D-line. His dad played at Stanford in the late 90s and was drafted by the Vikings in the 2nd round in 2001.
That's good bloodlines.
When you see him, you're like, I believe it.
All right, I see it.
I bet your dad played some ball. So gave him that. Let's see.
I like the biggest hitter.
Kylan,
Yeah.
that's your boy.
I mean, Coach, he is. That is, like, it's almost disrespectful how he is people sometimes. He's trying to take your head off.
And he's playing at Zachary, which is a very high level of Louisiana football. He's been very solid for a couple years in a row. He's another, like Caleb Jackson. Baton Rouge kids are this way, where you kind of just forget that. You take it for granted if you're a fan. You're like, well, they went. Yeah, they're from here. Of course they're going here. Then you remember, oh, wait, we need safeties. Oh, glad we got that 4-star top 150 guy.
Yeah.
So
it's going to be nice.
I gave my camp standout. So every summer I like to give a camp standout award. Was Ashton Stamps, because he went to like 4 straight camps until he finally got that offer.
That man was just balling trying to get the offer.
And I respect that.
Rummel kid.
Rummel kids be that way. Ready to compete. The biggest flip, obviously, Kamori and Pimpton for me. They flipped a few kids. Dylan Carpenter flipped. Braithwaite flipped from Baylor. But Pimpton flipping from Vandy on signing day is huge.
Needed a tight end.
And he's about as 6'6", about as good of a catch radius as anyone in the country. Put up nearly 1,000 yards as a senior, 17 touchdowns. So,
wow.
And then I had the don't forget about me guy is Jackson McGohan, the tight end that signs as the pass catcher late with Pimpton. And everyone's like, oh, Pimpton. It's like, well, they got another good one.
Where was McGohan leaning before? Was it like Wisconsin?
He was committed to Cincinnati.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're right. And then Fickle left. It was.
So, and there's some more in there. You can go read the article. I won't have to sit here and just bore people by reading all of them. Why didn't Jamie and Buxton end up at LSU if they needed D linemen so bad? I think they were just recruiting guys at a little bit higher clip. He ended up at Arizona State. Drew Nicholas, do you think Langlois can get any playing time? He's a really good high school player. He just has to be healthy. He's been hurt for 2 years in a row. He is a good player. And they need safeties, backup safeties. It's got to be healthy. It's like Chris Hilton.
Yeah.
You just got to be healthy. You're good enough.
What did he do? Did he hurt his shoulder or his knee?
I don't know.
Because I thought it was his shoulder, and then I heard it was his knee.
I don't know. But it's been 2 years. I think he's just kind of been battling injuries. Yeah. But I do think Langlois could play. It's just about getting healthy. Landon Finkelberg asked, do you think we keep Tavion Galloway? So he's in the 24 class, so he's still got a long way to go. But he seems pretty vocal, on Twitter at least, about being with LSU. Yeah, Pimpton, people are talking about him rising. He got all the way up to the number 4 tight end on 20 or on 3. So pretty big time. It's a big riser. And one thing went from a 3-star to a top 5 tight end. Ooh, Patrick P with a good one. Biggest miss.
I'll go Jordan Matthews.
I like that call. That's a reasonable person to choose too. Like, had you gone on him, you would have probably gotten him.
Like, I'm gonna go Jordan Matthews.
And he may be starting as a true freshman at Tennessee.
Exactly. And he
that's a great pick.
He was just so college ready. That's what it was for me.
I like that. I'll pick one of the guys they lost as a commitment. I like Dalen Austin. I thought was a really good player that ultimately just, when you recruit California kids, you're going to get burned, I think.
For some reason, those two are like kind of, they have so many similarities.
Yeah.
Like both long, lengthy corners, 6'2.5", 190.
Productive in high school.
Track guys, like just two guys that could be easily comparable. Be nice to pull both of them.
Would be.
Yeah, that would have been a
and
nice.
Then I'll go Deron Reed, who flipped to Auburn, because he was a top 100 DT. They didn't really have any high school DTs, and I think he's a good player. So
what is Auburn doing? They have like NIL deals or something?
Yeah, I think just like,
because I know a kid that just committed to Auburn, and he's actually LJ Johnson from A&M.
Oh yeah,
his younger cousin just committed to Auburn.
Huh?
Yeah.
I don't know. Trying to get right with the Lord, bro. Yeah. Hugh Freeze has got it figured out.
He needs to stay off the phones.
He will. He's learned his lesson. Chance, as we wrap up here, Ibietta's role next year. Landon Ibietta. We saw him in the bowl game because he was healthy.
He caught a few passes.
They put him out there. I would say his role is a rotational one. Yeah. I mean, Think back to every game, and you're going to hear people complaining, well, they're just keep Kayshawn and Malik on the field all the time. Quit rotating. Like, they're going to rotate all these guys. So if he's healthy, he'll be out there. I think he'll be rotating in.
Like, Jack Best played a lot this year and still transferred because he felt like he didn't have opportunity.
Patrick P. said, I met Jordan. Great kid. He's excited about Tennessee. Maybe he'll be a portal guy one day.
Yeah, hopefully.
You can only dream, Stu.
Yeah, I could. I'll give him a call. Call his dad. Talk to his daddy.
Work something. All right, well, we're wrapping up here. Stu, 23 classes in the books.
It's done. It's over.
We're just going to keep it rocking, though. We'll be back here next week. We'd be talking about 24.
Yeah, Hayes in the barn for 23.
You like the class?
I do.
Top 5.
I think top 5 class, and it's the teams that are above you are like
Georgia,
Blue Bloods.
Yeah, Georgia, Bama,
Ohio State, Texas,
and Texas.
Like that's Blue Bloods. So you
want to be in that group.
Yeah, and you're over Oregon, over Notre Dame, like.
And even I think too, what makes it easier to be like I feel great about it is top 5. A lot of great players address a lot of needs, and we already know that the needs they did not address in December with high school kids got addressed with like 4 corners that they signed in the portal, like 5 D linemen, Aaron Anderson, a return man.
Oh, goodness.
A linebacker in Spates. So
excited.
So then you feel real good about it. Like, all right, yeah, like if you looked at the signing class and then the roster, you're like, damn, we still need some corners. We need some more D linemen. I'll take a linebacker. I'll take a return man. Then you get all that in the portal. So now you're like, all right, great class.
Is Aaron Anderson, he's a sophomore?
He's a redshirt freshman because he didn't play this year.
Oh, I love it. Thank you.
Gives him years. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Everyone that participating all year has been participating. We'll keep it rocking. Shout out to Stu on the 1s and 2s. Shout out to Lance Beal.
Shout out to Lance Beal.
For sponsoring us here.
Yes. What a guy.
Have a message coming up from the law offices of Lance Beal. Here as we wrap up. Peace out, everyone. Happy signing day.
Lord's okay.
Used to be, when you needed legal help for complicated issues, you could walk into your hometown lawyer's office and get assistance for a variety of legal needs. Nowadays, every time you have a different issue, it seems like you have to meet a new lawyer at a new law firm for every legal problem. Attorneys Lance Beal and Kenny Hebert at Beal & Hebert in Lafayette are here to offer you one law firm for all your legal needs. Beal & Hebert have several attorneys experienced in multiple areas of law, whether it's personal injury, family law, estate planning, business law, construction law, and more. Beal & Hebert can handle all of your legal needs. Beal & Hebert, Louisiana.